What's up, guys? Welcome back to Life So Crazy. It's the Vongola Boss here. Stellar Blade fans, we are in the best timeline because Shift Up has now officially confirmed that the sequel to Stellar Blade is in the works. So in today's video, I wanted to give a quick breakdown on the plans and details that have recently come to light, and to wrap it all up, speculate on what we could potentially see in Stellar Blade 2. But before we get into it, leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Helps the channel out and lets me know what you guys want to see. With that said, let's get into it. So at the end of last week, Shift Up released their Investors Relations presentation for the first quarter of 2025. And it contained what you'd expect: reports of revenue and profit, development costs, market trends, all the stuff that makes investors, well, want to invest. Halfway through, we start getting to the good stuff. At least according to Shift Up, Stellar Blade was an unequivocal commercial success globally that has built up a strong fan base. Then we get to this slide titled IP Expansion on its way with high visibility, giving a rough overview of their plans from 2024 to 2027. And given how the chart begins with the console release for Stellar Blade, which was last year, I would put 2025 right between the line that separates Nikke and Stellar Blade, because the platform expansion, presumably the PC release, which is happening next month, who knows, one day it may very well come to platforms like Xbox and Nintendo, because Sony is realizing, just like Microsoft did, that it's not viable to keep all their exclusives to their home console alone. But anyway, as you can see, the sequel to Stellar Blade is coming after the platform expansion, so one would guess based on this chart that it would release before 2027, but with game development these days, who knows? Now let's talk about what we could potentially see in Stellar Blade 2. And drop whatever predictions you have in the comments down below, what you'd like to see or see improved. But here's what I got, and fair warning, there will be spoilers, because we got to give a little recap about where we are and where we could potentially be headed. So at the end of Stellar Blade, if you get the making new memories ending, aka the true ending, Eve, after learning the truth, accepting the truth, and embracing the truth of Mother Spear, the Naytibas, Andro Eidos, and how the world in its current state came to be, decides to become one with Adam. Rather than killing him and the rest of humanity as a whole, completes her mission of defeating the Elder Naytiba, although not in the way Mother Spear intended. She wanted Adam, the Elder Naytiba, gone, who also happened to be her creator, in order to remove all obstacles that were preventing her from creating what she believed to be the best path forward for humanity and its survival. After Eve fuses with Adam to achieve her fusion state, now she is priority target number one for Mother Spear, given that she's a new form of humanity, a perfect hybrid between machine and human. As a result, the final battle in Stellar Blade sees Mother Spear send her next generation of angels to destroy Eve, which she makes light work of. Eve then returns to Zion, and then with the help of Lily restores it with the final hypercell, helping to revive all the sleeping Andro Eidos in the cradle. And the game ends with Eve becoming the new protector and overseer of Zion, and the bridge between androids and humans. Now, while there's no doubt Mother Spear will be the main big bad in the next game, it does make me wonder what's the main enemy faction we'll see. Will Naytiba still be a threat? Specifically, will they be a threat to Eve now that she's absorbed Adam and is half Naytiba? Because I'm sure there's some document in the game that shows that Naytibas aren't hostile to one another, as they're only driven by an intense bloodlust for Andro Eidos. Will we see them become allies in the next game? Imagine Eve leading an army of alpha Naytibas against Mother Spear. I know it sounds ridiculous, I'm just spitballing here, because I really don't see how they could be enemies in the next game. There's not going to be another Naytiba more dangerous, more fearsome, more glorious than the got a bit carried away there for a second. But come on now, this is some majestic level aura farming. Like, who told you to go Super Saiyan in the middle of a fight? Anyway, basically, there's not going to be a more notable Naytiba than the Elder. And if you try to write one in, well, you've just diminished the former antagonist of your first game. I feel as if Eve not being able to still fight them is kind of a waste, but as I said, it kind of makes sense why she would not, because you want to preserve the original humanity, which was Adam's goal. Now hear me out, I still would want to be able to fight Naytibas in the sequel. I think the concept behind them is interesting, the fact that you take humanity that was driven to the brink of extinction and force them to evolve into monstrosities in order to survive. I personally think it'd be ideal to fight both Naytibas and Mother Spear. Let's say you have some Naytibas who are too far gone, some that underwent too stark of an evolution and have to be put down. Maybe the next game will have you fight Naytibas for the purpose of trying to get them to evolve, where Eve will try to create, if not perfect like herself, but more ideal, sustainable fusions. In the same way how Adam turned Oracle into an alpha Naytiba, and how Raven turned Taki, I expect she'll crack the code on figuring out where humanity goes next. Obviously, in the next game, you're going to be fighting Mother Spear's combat evolved angels. But as far as we know, those angels are her main fighting force. Sure, the next game could see you fighting the 8th Airborne Squad, but how much more advanced would they be? Basically what I'm saying is Eve is kind of cracked in this fusion state. She is one of those ones, and you do not want to see her one-on-one. What can Mother Sphere actually throw at her that can slow her down? And unless they really get creative, Mother Sphere coming out with some new threat that's greater than the angels also doesn't make sense, because why didn't she just use them to take down the Elder Naytiba? Did she have something that she was keeping a secret for the fear that if she released it onto the earth and the Naytiba saw it, they would evolve in order to take care of it? On top of that, we only know so much about the colony and that the Andro 80 survivors from the final war reside there. Next, I want to see how they continue to build on the lore. To me, Stellar Blade is similar to the Horizon series, where I really enjoy the world building, but just like Horizon, it could stand to receive a little bit extra flavor when it comes to its characters' personalities. A dash of seasoning or some spice is all. Funny how both of these games both have the central goal of saving humanity. Now, one thing I really enjoyed in Stellar Blade, and that I'm looking forward to seeing how they build upon in the sequel, is the biblical symbolism and themes. If you haven't noticed by now, Adam and Eve, who in the Bible are the genesis of humanity, whereas in Stellar Blade they're the genesis of a new version of humanity. Eve descends from the skies to save Earth, akin to an angel, and becomes a helpmate to Adam, aiding him in order to save the world. You have the city of Zion, pretty self-explanatory. And it just dawned on me as I'm recording this, the third protagonist, Lily, is probably a reference for Lilith, especially given how the dynamic between her and Adam is somewhat combative. While it doesn't hold them back in any meaningful way, they do argue a lot, and I don't think that was by accident. Next, you have the names of certain enemies, which I believe are Hebrew terms or used to reference demons in the Bible. And last but not least, a giant Naytiba that is in the form of an angel. I wouldn't call Stellar Blade a Christian game by any means, but the inspiration this game took from religion and seeing it play out was interesting to see, and I look forward to how they continue it in the sequel. And finally, what will the outfits be like in the next game? Again, there was the whole controversy surrounding this game, which I made a video on last year, which after having beaten this game, I still think was massively overblown because this character's looks play very little into the game. As the director, and I'm probably gonna mess this up, Kim Hyung-tae, said he understood that if you're making a game, to make a character that is pleasant to look at.
That makes sense to me.
But in the grand scheme of things, the presentation of the character is just fan service. It has very little bearing or impact on the story. And speaking of, what are the outfits going to be like in the next game? Because if you haven't noticed, our girl Eve has undergone a little bit of a transformation. She is now a hybrid with...
What are those?
3 toes or claws, honestly. And while she might be able to summon these fly-ass wings on command, I don't think the same can be said for her feet. I don't care how many skin suits, swimsuits, or lingerie you give her. In my opinion, you can't be a baddie if your toes is nasty. And I'm not even a foot guy. I'm just telling you how it is. There's no way Adam had these toes in mind when he sacrificed himself. He entrusted the future of humanity to you, and you repay him by popping out with those feet? I can't believe I'm saying this, but maybe Mother Sphere was right. Anyway, I digress. Shift Up aren't afraid to get risque when it comes to their skins, but I'm afraid they're going to have to overcompensate to make up for them toes. Or talons, whichever. And if and when it does, hopefully it doesn't become the center of another culture war. Stellar Blade is good. Some would call it mid, and you're entitled to your opinion. The soundtrack is phenomenal, the combat is engaging, challenging, and really rewarding once you master it. There's a lot Shift Up could stand to improve on, starting with their storytelling, because while the lore is rich in my opinion, the delivery is pretty shoddy. But hey, for a game studio that specializes in mobile games, their first crack at a AAA game is pretty good. It was my personal game of the year for 2024, and I'm excited to see what they do with the series going forward. But that's all I got for this one. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Comment your thoughts down below, let's start a discussion, and check out the 2 videos shown up on the screen to see more Life So Crazy. It's been the Vongola Boss, and I'll catch y'all next time. Peace.